Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Dear Profiler Pat. This is where I give advice, which you can take or not take, but I welcome you here and I welcome your questions. If you'd like to send me a question, please do that. Send it to profilerpatbrown@gmail.com and put in the subject line, Dear Profiler Pat, so I know what you're talking about. Well, I had a question that came in, and it was so perfect for this season. The question was, should I participate in religious ceremonies and celebrations that aren't my own? And this is a very tricky issue. People who are one religion being asked to participate in another religion's ceremony, or people of no religion asked to participate in a religious ceremony. And as we enter into this holiday season, we've had the Hanukkah issues. Eid was, I forgot when Eid was. Now we're here at Christmas time. And what do you participate in if you're one way of thinking or the other? So I want to clear up a lot of what I think is a reasonable way to respond. And the first way to respond is to understand that the person who is welcoming you to participate in their celebration is reaching out to you in a kind way. Now, whether they're trying to bring you over to their way of thinking, evangelize, or whether they just want to share with you. The fact is, they're not haters. These are people who are reaching out to you with love, and so please appreciate that. And don't think of it, oh, well, how dare you do that? I've seen people have that attitude. As I go through the line sometimes at certain places, somebody will say to me, have a blessed day. And I think, how kind of them. How kind of them. Obviously, when somebody says have a blessed day, they tend to be Christians who are on the evangelical side. But they're trying to wish me a blessed day. Why wouldn't I want a blessed day? Isn't that a wonderful thing? They're not being unkind. So just smile. If somebody says Merry Christmas, but you're not Christian, maybe you're a Jew, maybe you're a Muslim, maybe you just don't believe in that in any kind of Christian religion, maybe you're atheist, but they're saying Merry Christmas. It's coming from who they are that they're sharing this with you. They're sharing this with you. You don't have to be the same as them to accept the fact that they would like to share this with you. So I think one of our problems is these days is that we're very overly picky about how dare they do this, or should we have to participate? Maybe we should just be a little bit more warm-hearted all the way around. That would be really nice. So let me go through some concepts that I've seen in the past, which I find quite interesting. Now, I spent a lot of time in India, so a lot of Indians are Hindu. Now, there also are Indians who are not Hindu. They're Muslim. They're Christian. They're Jews. They're Zoroastrians. They are, what else we got there? Buddhists. So you got your major group, which is Hindu, and then the next one is Muslim, and then it keeps going like smaller groups. But I was with one of my trips to India. The people I was there with were Indian Americans who happened to be Christian, Seventh-day Adventists, and we were going to different schools in India. I was helping support giving poor children a chance at education. So I was supporting certain children to get their ability to go to school. And so we went to these different schools, and it was a wonderful trip. Their group that they had, the people they had hired to work with them, they didn't care what religion they were. As a matter of fact, whatever schools they supported did not have to be Seventh-day Adventists, which I was very impressed by. They supported the school and the children regardless of the religion of anybody. They could support a Catholic school, which they were not. They could support a school that was Islamic, that they were not. And it didn't matter what the children were. They were supporting education. I was highly impressed by this. But one of the days we were out and about, um, we went to this location where it was supposed to be very, very beautiful. And then we were going to take this. You paid your money and you got on this, the bucket that goes across. What do you call it? The bucket that goes across the gorge. That scared the crap out of me. But anyway, I went, and as we're looking down, it was very beautiful and all that. So all of us who were in this group went across this scenic area, shall we say, and we arrived at the other side. Thank God. And then we walked to this temple. It was a very well-known temple, a Hindu temple. It was a very beautiful temple. So we all walked to the temple. When we arrived at the temple, now mind you, this was a trip that was sponsored by Seventh-day Adventists, the people that headed the group. Yet when we got to the other side of this gorge, and we're walking toward this temple, which is a Hindu temple, what happened when we got there? Well, what happened was the Hindus in our group went on into the temple and they did their puja, which is worship. They did their puja, and the Seventh-day Adventists just hung around outside enjoying the view. And then when the puja was finished inside the temple, the mandir is also what you call it. The Hindu group came out and we rejoined, and everybody went on their merry way. And I thought, that's pretty cool, because this group that was sponsored all of this was actually a Christian group, but they had the heart for their Hindu workers. They're like, okay, you want to go, that's fine with us. Now, they did not enter the temple. I want to point this out. They, as Christians, felt that they were uncomfortable going into the temple, which had gods and goddesses which they did not support the concept of. And that's their right not to go in, because they felt uncomfortable doing so. They just simply stayed outside. One of my favorite movies, well, I don't know if the movie was so great, but there was a favorite scene in a movie, which I totally appreciated. So it was an English movie, it was in English and not in Hindi. But anyway, this American dude arrives in Mumbai, and he gets into a auto rickshaw, and the guy's driving him about. And he looks up, and across the top of the auto rickshaw, there are these different gods and goddesses of the Hindu religion. The Saraswati, she's like the goddess of music and writing and arts and stuff like that. And then you got Ganesh, which is the elephant god. And then you had Krishna, and then you had Shiva. And I'm going to explain it, but they were all there. And but there was also a photo, a little photo stuck up there of Jesus Christ. And so the American's looking at this going, he says, "Excuse me, sir." He said, "I see you're a Hindu. Do you also worship Jesus Christ? Why do you have his picture up there?" And the rickshaw driver turns back and says, "Why take chances?" Great answer. Why take chances? Which goes to show you a little bit of the Hindu way of thinking. But I just loved the appreciation that there was. Now, there are people who are very, very strictly Christian, very strictly Muslims, very strictly Jewish, who will argue these issues and say, no, these are wrong. These other ways of thinking are wrong. Well, you can believe that, and it's your right to believe that, just like there are atheists out there who think all of them are wrong and call every single religion fairy stories, which I think is quite unkind, mind you, because these things are very important to people to get through our lives and to know what's coming in the future when we pass on. So I think being kind-hearted is worthwhile. To be respectful of another's religion is worthwhile. To what they believe, what their hope, where their hope and faith lies. So, can you participate in somebody else's religion? Of course you can, if you're comfortable doing so. And therefore, for example, I've participated in many different religions. I've been in mosques. and I've been invited to mosques from friends who were Muslim, and I experienced that time there. I got to hear what was said. I got to see how people participated, what they believed in. It's not my religion. And when I left, I thanked them kindly. I also was very respectful, covered my head when I went in. It's not my religion, but I respect that it's your religion. And thank you for inviting me. I've learned something. I'm not converting, but I've learned something. So I've been to many different people's events that necessarily I may not be 100% like part of, but I've been there. I've been to churches where I've liked some of it I related to, and some parts I didn't relate to, and wouldn't participate in the parts I did not relate to. Not because I thought anything was wrong with what everybody else was doing around me, but if everybody around me was kneeling to say a prayer, and I felt uncomfortable doing so, I simply did not do so. But I respected those who did, and thanked the people for inviting me to this place, this church where I got to experience that. So I think there are ways that you can participate. I've been to quite a few homes of different religions where I've sat among the group, and they might say, "Pat, would you like to say the prayer?" And I go, "No, thank you. I'm not very good at it. Why don't you go ahead with that?" But I had no problem bowing my head because that's respectful. I might not say certain words, but I can be respectful and be in the moment of appreciating what everybody else is feeling. So is it wrong to go to a Christian church if you're not Christian and enjoy a Christmas Eve songs? No. If it isn't totally against what you believe, you can do that, appreciate what everybody else is experiencing, and enjoy participating. If you're invited to a home for a Christmas Eve dinner, Christmas dinner, and you're not Christian, as long as it's not offensive to you, or like your religion says you can't participate, then you should be able to go and say, "Hey, thank you for inviting me to share your moment with me." They might be sharing their faith, it's true. They might be sharing their beliefs, it's true. But just because they're sharing it doesn't mean you have to be defensive about it. It just also doesn't mean you have to acknowledge and say, "Hey, okay, me too." No, you don't have to. You can say, "Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed hearing what you had to say. I enjoyed hearing what's from your heart." Nothing wrong with that. Now, if you are of a religion that you cannot participate for specific reasons, then you say, "Thank you very much." For example, Jehovah's Witnesses do not celebrate Christmas. And if somebody said to them, if they're going through the checkout line, I know Jehovah's Witnesses. So they're going through the checkout line, and somebody says, "Merry Christmas," they say, "Thank you," and they keep going. They don't stop and say, "I don't believe in that." They don't do that. They're polite and good about that. What they do, however, is not celebrate Christmas. If somebody says, would you like to come to our house and celebrate Christmas?" They would say, "Thank you so kindly. But I'm a Jehovah's Witness, and we don't celebrate that." And that's all you have to say. And then that's perfectly fine. You don't have to go along with something you're not comfortable with, but you don't have to be rude about it either. And so for Jehovah's Witness, they'll say, "No, thank you." They have their own celebrations, the memorial of Jesus' death, which is usually in April. They might invite people to celebrate the memorial of Jesus' death, and people who are not Jehovah's Witnesses might say no. Or they might say, "That would be interesting. I'd like to attend, and I'd like to learn whatever you want to share with me." And they might leave and say, "Well, that was super interesting, and I might consider what you're having to say." Or they might say, "Thank you very much, but okay, thank you very much." And they might leave and go on their way. Why do we have to be so? Why do we have to be so? I'm trying to think of the word for it. Why can't we just care about other people and the way that what their beliefs are, that they have faith, that they believe in something, that they want to live in a good way, that they want to believe there's an afterlife. I mean, everybody, I think, wants to believe that. I mean, I know there are many who say, "Oh, there's no afterlife," and some atheists say, "Yeah, that's it. You're dead, you're dead." But can you not understand why some people want to believe that there's more to come, that there's a heaven, or that there's a new world, or whatever? Can't you understand that at least, and have some kindness toward people who believe in something different than you? Can't you see the beauty in the many religions around you? Spending time in India, the celebration of Holi in the spring. This, there's so many Diwali in the fall, where you put light candles and they float down the river, and the beauty of that celebration is amazing. And Christmas has always been a beautiful, beautiful celebration. The songs that we sing for Christmas. And I when I was a child, we lived in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and we used to go to my grandmother's house for Christmas Eve. And she lived in New York, and in one of those apartments where you took an elevator up to her place, and it was very marble. They had a lot of marble, so it felt very cold, but very kind of, I don't know, it's an interesting feeling. So you go up to her apartment, and then you knock on the door, and she would open her door. She had like 7 locks on it, and one of these big locks you had to pull off the door. It was New York City, and this was back in probably the 50s and early 60s. And my grandmother would welcome us into her home. We'd have a big German dinner. My uncle, we would have these French doors that blocked the dining room from the living room. And there was a real Christmas tree. And there were very, very tall ceilings. They're like, I don't know, 10-foot ceilings. And then my uncle and my father would go around the other way, and we would dim, all the lights would be dimmed or darkened. And then they would light all the real candles on the tree, which probably wasn't safe, but they blew them out quickly, but they lit all of them. And then we stood behind these glass French doors, and we sang Silent Night, not Stille Nacht, but Silent Night, I think. And then the doors opened, and we went into this big German Christmas, and we had marzipan and German cookies and all that. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And when I was about 12 years old, I received a Jewish New Year card in the mail, and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, why are we getting Jewish New Year cards?" And he's like, "Because my whole side of the family is Jewish." I'm like, "What? Wasn't your mother the one who did the big Christmases in New York City?" He goes, "Yes." I'm like, "How does this work?" So it turned out that she was Jewish, and but her husband, who died, always wanted to be Catholic. And for whatever reasons, they escaped Germany, and she never wanted to go back. But at that point, because of things, what happened to the families in the concentration camps, but they celebrated the incredible Christmases. I still have never understood exactly what religion she might be, but who cares? She wanted to share this beautiful time with us. And and somewhere around 10 o'clock at night, my Aunt Lily came, and she really wasn't my aunt, but I don't know what she actually was, but she was part of that German group too. And she was basically a lover of Khalil Gibran. But anyway, so she was very religious, but she was into Khalil Gibran and had his books and stuff. She would show up at like 10 o'clock at night. She was a big woman, and knock on the door, and then open it up, and she'd go, "Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas." And she always had a bottle of scotch and a bunch of really great Ishla cookies, which she made for the family. And she was just amazing. And I always loved her. And then she died one day when I was probably in my 20s, and there was going to be a memorial service for her. So I went to New York City to the memorial service. It was in Presbyterian Church, and I'm sitting in there, and the pastor comes out, and he reads this eulogy from my uncle Eric from Chicago, who was very, very super conservative Jewish, right? And he reads this, and he goes, "Never before has a Jewish woman so been celebrated in a Christian church." And All the people went, what? She was Jewish? We would have had it at the synagogue. But there you go. You see the love. You see the love that transcends religion. You can see that we can celebrate each other. We can celebrate what each other finds important to us. We can celebrate these things without having to be necessarily in agreement with everything that that person or that group thinks. So yes, can you go to somebody else's celebration of Christmas? Sure you can, unless it's 100% opposed to what you believe in, where you cannot celebrate it. Then you say, thank you so kindly. What a wonderful, thank you for inviting me. You're a wonderful person. And you can then invite them to something else, maybe dinner at your house, and you can get together. You can still reach out across religious lines. And if the world would just do that, if we would celebrate love year-round, wouldn't this be a different world? So anyway, thank you for being here. Those are just some of my thoughts as we enter into these, but just about a few days before Christmas. I just want you all to share with each other, to love each other, to be kind to each other, and to appreciate that we're all different, but we also are all the same. Thank you for being here. And if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe to Dear Profiler Pat, and send your questions along to profilerpatbrown@gmail.com. Put Dear Profiler Pat in the subject line so I know that's what it's all about. Thank you for being here. Bye.